All right, good afternoon, everybody. What's going on? What's happening? It's your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. And I just want to thank everybody that has been subscribed to my channel. Shout out to the new subscribers out there. Shout out to those that have been sharing my channel. And thank everybody that's been watching my videos. So, August is Black August month, which we recognize Black organization, Black political prisoners who have put their lives on the line, even those who also have dealt with injustice and discrimination against law enforcement as well. So I want to bring that into that whole segment. So I want to talk about Troy Anthony Davis. Okay. So this is very significant because although he wasn't a political prisoner, but he was somebody that was uh, executed due to injustice. So in 1989, or was it? Yeah, it was 1989, August 19th of 1989, in Savannah, Georgia, there was a Savannah cop that was killed. And Troy Davis was in the area, but he wasn't the person that pulled the trigger. However, he was accused of the crime, so he was sentenced to life and death penalty in 1991, which ironically was on my birthday, August 30th of 1991. So he was sentenced to death, and he was on death row for a long period of time. Okay. So they thought that there was going to be an overturn on his conviction as far as him being on death row. Well, however, that wasn't the case, because in September of 2011, he was executed. So people been trying to put up a fight against the whole capital punishment and death penalty, because they believe that it's unjustifiable. And this fight been going on for a long period of time. So Troy Davis is not the only one that has been dealing with this type of injustice. There's many more that has came before him who was executed, wrongfully executed at that. And so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and talk about him. So let me post up his information. So let's look at who Troy Davis is. Now, Troy Davis was born October the 9th of 1968. And he was executed on September 21st of 2011. He was convicted of and executed for the August 19th of 1989 murder of police officer Mark Maffoul in Savannah, Georgia. Maffoul was working as a security guard at a Burger King restaurant and was intervening to defend a man being assaulted by Davis in a nearby parking lot when he was murdered. During Davis' 1991 trial, 7 witnesses testified they had seen Davis shoot Maffoul, and 2 others testified Davis has confessed the murder to them. There were 34 witnesses who testified for the prosecution and 6 others for the defense, including Davis. Although the murder weapon was not recovered, ballistic evidence present at the trial linked bullets recovered at or near the scene to those at another shooting in which Davis was also charged. He was convicted of murder and various lesser charges, including the earlier shooting, and was sentenced to death in August of 1991. Damn. Okay, so here's the information. So at the Georgia Diagnostic and Classification State Prison, where Davis was held on death row and where he was executed, right here in this facility. So the thing where it said that he maintained his innocence up to his execution. In the 20 years between his conviction and execution, Davis and his defenders secured support from the public, celebrities, and human rights groups. Amnesty International and other groups such as the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People took up Davis' cause. Prominent politicians and leaders, including former President Jimmy Carter, Reverend Al Sharpton, Pope Benedict, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, former U.S. Congressman from Georgia and presidential candidate Bob Barr, and former FBI Director and Judge William S. Sessions, called upon the courts to grant Davis a new trial or evidentiary hearing. So in July of 2007, September of 2008, and October of 2008, execution dates were scheduled, but each execution was stayed shortly before it was to take place. So in 2009, the Supreme Court of the United States ordered the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Georgia to consider whether new evidence that could have not been obtained at the time of trial clearly establishes Davis' innocence. The evidentiary trial or hearing was held in June of 2010. The defense presented affidavits from 7 of the 9 trial witnesses whose original testimony had identified Davis as the murderer, but who it contended had changed or recanted their previous testimony. Some of these writings disavowed parts of prior testimony or implicated Sylvester Red Coles, who Davis contended was the actual triggerman. The state presented witnesses, including the police investigators and original prosecutors, who described a careful investigation of the crime without any coercion. Davis did not call some of the witnesses who had supposedly recanted, despite their presence in the courthouse. Accordingly, their affidavits were given little weight by the judge. Evidence that Coles had confessed to the killing was excluded as hearsay because Coles was not subpoenaed by the defense to rebut it. So in an August of 2010 decision, the conviction was upheld. The court described defense efforts to upset the conviction as largely smoke and mirrors, and found that several of the proffered affidavits were not recantation at all. Subsequent appeals, including to the Supreme Court, were rejected, and a 4th execution date was set for September 21st of 2011. Nearly 1 million people signed petition urging the Georgia Board of Pardons and Patrols to grant clemency. The board denied clemency, and on September 21st, it refused to reconsider its decision. After a last-minute appeal to the United States Supreme Court was denied, Davis was executed on September 21st of 2011. So now, it goes into his background. So let's look at his background, right? So he was the eldest of a Korean War veteran, Joseph Davis, and hospital worker Virginia Davis. The couple divorced when Davis was very young, and Davis grew up with 4 siblings in the predominantly black middle-class neighborhood of Cloverdale in Savannah, Georgia. Davis attended Wisner Forest High School, where one teacher described him as a poor student. He dropped out in his junior year so he could drive his disabled younger sister to her rehabilitation. Davis obtained his high school equivalency diploma from Richard Arnold Education Center in 1987. A teacher noted that he attended school regularly but seemed to lack discipline. Davis' nickname at the time was Rock or Rough as Hell, but some neighbors reported that it did not reflect his behavior. They described him as a straight-up fellow who acted as a big brother to local children. So it says in July 1988, Davis pleaded guilty to carrying a concealed weapon. He was fined $250 as part of a plea agreement in which a charge of possession of a gun with alternate serial numbers was dropped. So in August of 1988, Davis began work as a drill technician at a plant that manufactured railroad crossing gates. His boss commenting that while David was a likable and good worker who appeared to have positive life goals, his job attendance was poor. By Christmas 1988, he had stopped coming to work. Davis returned to his job twice in the following months, but neither time remained for long. Davis was a coach in the Savannah Police Athletic League and had signed up for service in the United States Marine Corps. All right, so now let's look at the background of the person who was a victim, Mark Allen Maffau. So Mark Allen Maffau Sr. was 27 years old at the time of his murder. He was the son of a U.S. Army colonel, was married, and was the father of a 2-year-old daughter and an infant son. He had joined the Savannah Police Department in 1986, following 6 years of military service as an Army Ranger. Maffau had worked for 3 years as a regular patrol officer, and in the summer of 1989 had applied to train as a mounted police officer. Hundreds of mourners, including county, state, and federal law enforcement officers, attended Maffau's funeral at Trinity Lutheran Church in Savannah on August 22nd, 1989. So before I go to the whole pre-trial proceeding, etc., we just have to take a look at this. So, ironically, Troy David was training. Well, he was becoming a coach in the police department. And he was going into the military. And so they also spoke about how he dropped out of school and he stopped coming to work. Well, what could that be a reason? Was it because some type of family issue that he was having at home? Or what was the reason for him dropping out of school? So we have to look at what type of impact he had as a child growing up. Because what I read, he had a sister that was going in and out of rehabilitation center. Okay, she was going in and out the rehabilitation center, and he had to take her back and forth. So was that putting a lot of stress on him because he had to care for his younger sister? But I want to talk about how we as people of color, as Black folks, we have to be careful when we deal with these law enforcement. So just recently, there was a situation that happened in Atlanta where two couples were at the park after hours, and the police stopped them and gave them a citation. All right, and by the way, this happened to be a Black cop. Giving them a citation. The man signed the citation. All right. The woman, she didn't want to sign the citation. She just wanted his name, his badge number. So he gave her the name and badge number, but she still refused to sign. So he told her that either you sign or I'm going to have to arrest you. So she said, I refuse to sign. So he ended up trying to put her in handcuffs. Now, he did it in a very aggressive manner. Now, the way the situation could have been avoided, she could have either signed the paper, or the police could just say, okay, well, both of y'all just go home. And since y'all from out of town, go home and enjoy yourself and be safe, etc. But things went left. We got to understand, when we deal with these law enforcement, we have to be careful because we are an easy target to them. We become an easy target. So it's easy for them to, it gives them a reason to want to arrest us or accuse us of a crime. Okay? So we got to be careful when we get into confrontation with these motherfuckers. We got to be careful when, when you try to cross paths with them. You have to move at ease. So, what it looked like, Troy David was at the wrong place and at the wrong time. So, by him being at the wrong place at the wrong time, and he got caught up in a situation where a police officer's life was ended, that put him on the center as someone that was guilty of the crime. Now, multiple people say he did do it, and there was those who say he didn't do it. And there was those who said he confessed to the murders, and there was those who said that he didn't really do it. Now, I remember there was a protest regarding to this whole trial back in 2011. I don't think I attended to that one, but I remember they were downtown, they were marching, they had the signs and everything. And everybody thought that he was going to be free and he wasn't going to get executed. Everybody thought he was going to go, right? Nope, that was not the case. They postponed it, but he was still going to receive the death penalty. And that's what happened. And then sadly, his sister, his older sister, she stood by his side. She orchestrated the protest, making sure the protest was handled. But she passed away a couple of months after he was executed. So, due to breast cancer. But this is one of the reasons why I just don't get into the whole protesting thing, because it's not going to really change the mind of this system and how they feel about us as a people. They're not going to change their mind. They're not going to change the laws. So in order for that to happen, there's going to have to be about a radical change taking place. And it's going to have to go beyond protesting. But many people are not ready for that radical change. So to sit here and think that we can continue to protest as if it's going to change everything, it's not. And the people that's protesting with us and walking alongside with us, they don't have the intention on really fighting for injustice, really fighting for liberation for the people. Their main thing is to gain notoriety and gain a paycheck. So organizations like Black Lives Matter don't have real intention on fighting against oppression or fighting against injustice. Their main thing is to get wealthy. They saw that as a way of making money and gaining opportunity. It does not do anything for the family of these victims. Someone like Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, same thing. It's their paycheck. It's their income. Tamika Marley, whatever her name is, it's her paycheck. It's her income. Because at the end of the day, once it's all said and done, these people going to go back to their mansion and live their everyday life. They're not going to be out there every day putting up a constant fight and stress. So to be a true activist, you would have to really put yourself in that predicament every single day to put up a fight. You have to put so much focus and emphasis on the crisis that's going on, whether it be community, police brutality, political, social, whatever. You really have to put too much focus. You don't really have a time for yourself. You don't really have a free time like that. That's what it means to be truly an activist. And I don't think people understand what activism is all about. It's not about just showing up 1 minute and then you just go back and just live a extravagant lifestyle. No, you out there constantly on a consistent basis. Which is why I don't understand how, for the life of me, that T.I. even got an award for his community work. I mean, I'm just trying to understand, how did he receive an award for his community work when he ain't put as much work as compared to the people that's actually doing the work? How did he get community award? What type of work did he really do? He ain't put as much community work and put as much hour into doing a lot of effort for the people like all the rest of the activists. And I think that's a slap in the face to those who are actually doing the hard work, because his work ain't nothing compared to what they have to do on an everyday basis, on a consistent basis. I mean, yes, people literally out there trying to fight to get people to come home, protesting for political prisoners, people organizing events every single day, going out feeding the people in the community, trying to fight for housing. But this man gets an award for that. I don't get it. And I'm going to address this whole thing about this Killer Mike 2 Chainz situation about the nuancing ordinance, because at the end of that, we gotta stop looking up to these entertainers as our leaders, because they're not our leaders. They're just entertainers. They don't have enough leadership quality. They don't understand enough about the politics in order to really bring about radical change. They don't understand it. They just look out for their own interests. So later on, I am going to be speaking on this whole thing with Killer Mike and 2 Chainz being down at the city hall, speaking on the nuance ordinance regarding to the clubs and the violence, etc. Because this has to be brought into light. We have to be able to pull back and dissect how this whole thing is played out. All right. But I'm going to go back to the article. So I'm going to read a little bit more. Read a little bit more. So let's look at the pretrial. So the pretrial proceedings, right? On November 15, 1989, a grand jury indicted Davis for murder, assaulting Larry Young with a pistol, shooting Michael Cooper, obstructing Matt Fowl in performance of his duty, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Davis pleaded not guilty in April 1990. Right? In November 1990, the presiding judge excluded forensic evidence from the pair of shorts seized at the Davis home. The judge ruled that Davis' mother did not freely and voluntarily grant the police the right to search her home. She had testified that police officers had threatened to break down her door unless she let them into her home. The Georgia Supreme Court upheld the execution of the evidence in May of 1991, saying that the police should have obtained a search warrant. Davis was brought to trial in August of 1991. Okay. So he was brought to trial in August of 1991. And again, if you guys want to read more about this, you can look this up on Wikipedia. Okay. So also there is a book about Troy Davis and his life. Right. So the name of this book here is called I Am Troy Davis by Jim Marlowe and Martina Davis Corellia, with Troy Anthony Davis, forward by Sister Helen Pajan. Okay, so this book was published in 2013. So this is the picture of Troy and his family. All right, so this is the introduction, and goes into the whole conversation, dialogue that took place regarding to the whole trial and the talk about his execution, etc. So again, here's the book, and you guys can look it up. It's called I Am Troy Davis. That's the name of the book. All right. So that's the title. That's it. That's all I have to speak on for today. So yes, we have to understand that it's going to take a radical change in order for this system to fall apart. It's going to have to take more than a protest. It's going to have to take more than a sign. It's going to have to take more than just hitting the pockets of businesses and all of that. It's going to have to take a lot. And when would that happen? Who knows when that's going to ever happen. But the system is not planning on changing its laws anytime soon, especially when it benefits certain group of people. We're talking about a system that's built on privilege. We're talking about a system that's built on capitalism. We're talking about a system that's built on the idea of crimes. So a certain group of people are going to benefit from the system and others are not. And it's a great thing to see a lot more African Americans get involved in the criminal justice system, as far as being lawyers, defense attorney, prosecutors, judges, forensics, and all. I think that's a great thing. But again, it's going to take a lot more to happen. It's going to take a radical change. And it's going to have to happen at some point. At some point, a radical change is going to happen. We just don't know when it's going to take place. And that's the only thing I'm here to say. So other than that, you guys have a great one. And I will come back later on. I will make it my business to come later on because there's some more things I want to talk about. Okay. So you all have a good one and be safe, and peace and power elevation be to all of you. And this your girl Tiffany. And I'm saying deuces, and I'll talk to y'all later. All right. And enjoy it. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share the channel, and hit the notification bell whenever I come on. Thank you so much. Peace.